I am going to hit the join for Telegram. I'm hoping that today it'll be all good. Yesterday we had some technical difficulties, and we're going to start the record for our BitChute and Odyssey fans. Okay, shows that we are live. Robert, I hope that we are, you can hear the volume as well. Can you hear the volume for Telegram? Okay.
I'm testing it.
Okay.
So I don't hear anything, but let me see.
I wonder what you can do for that. Anyway, we're going to get started.
Yeah,
We've
I don't
got
hear
the
any volume.
Okay, well, you can see it. Read our lips. Here we go. Okay, so as you know, it's time to open your mind and get focused on learning and growing. So the best way to do that is to dance. So fasten your seatbelts after you get your dance, because we're going to learn together. Here we go.
The Lillian McDermott Show.
We love, we fear, bridges we burn, we make mistakes, then we live and learn. When life gets tough, and it seems like your best ain't good enough. If you're in need of hope, you know where I'll be right here. Right here, and when you need a friend, you can count on me. I'll be right here, waiting for
you. This is the place you can always turn to when you need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my viewing and listening friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are tuning into the classroom for the first time, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative and natural ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace your truth and live the life of your dreams. So, as we love to live the life of our dreams, there are times in our life where you're being told that something is wrong. How do you deal with that? Especially if you're told that you will be sick for the rest of your life, that you have to take a pill for the rest of your life, that you will never be able to reverse this. Yesterday, we talked a little bit about how the mind, we can kill ourselves with our thoughts. We can help ourselves and lift ourselves up with our thoughts. Murder starts with a thought, and the invention of the airplane started with a thought. And so what if you think that you have a terminal illness that could never be reversed? Would you believe it? Would you buy into it? And would you succumb to whatever they're telling you is the best case scenario for you? Hopefully not. Hopefully you've learned by watching the classroom that we have so many people and teachers that come on that offer hope, that offer a way to reverse, that offer a new way of thinking. Well, back in 2017, 2016, I'm losing track of time now. I get to meet these wonderful people. Merrilee Jacobs is one of the people. Paul, who's the co-producer and director of the documentaries that they've put together. I got to meet them and see how they're not only offering hope, they're telling stories of people who have not only reversed disease, but they have been triumphantly living their life since then. So the first documentary that I shared with you with Merrilee Jacobs is Eating You Alive. We even had a viewing. It was just a wonderful documentary. They're at it again, and they've done an even better job. And the documentary is called Disease Reversal Hope. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am so grateful that Merrilee Jacobs, the producer of these wonderful documentaries, is here to do just that. Welcome back, Merrilee, to the classroom.
Thank you, Lillian, for having me. It's great to see you after these few years.
I know it's been too long, hasn't it?
It
It's been
really
too
has.
long.
Doesn't actually seem, time flies. So it doesn't actually seem like it's been that long. But when you sit and look back at the calendar, you're like, oh my word. It's
How
been
long has it?
forever.
That's right. That's right. And Robert, I don't know if you want to adjust the sound, if that's okay, because now it's a little bit louder than it was before, but I don't know if that's what that Robert wanted. So Robert, if you can send messages, I can't read the screen at this point. I don't know why it's gotten so big, but anyway, little things happen that we're going to go with the flow. So Merrilee, tell a little bit about your background and share how you got interested in kind of like, did you stumble upon this, or did you meet yourself with a health crisis that came to a desire for you to learn and grow about something different and new?
Well, no, I didn't have any health crisis per se. And I would have not, I was actually raised with bouts of vegetarianism in my life. So, eating lots of fruits and vegetables and everything, that wasn't a foreign concept to me. My mom was a great one to always push veggies and fruit. And, we could never have dessert unless we'd finished our vegetables, a type of thing. And we didn't actually eat a whole lot of meat growing up. I'd say that there's just my sister and I as siblings, and my sister was never really a big fan of meat, but I, on the other hand, really liked the taste of it. And my mother would call me her little carniv, because I was the one who seemed to really have innately this desire for and love of the taste of meat. Now, as I've gotten older and as I've made this transition, what I've learned is that if you take all of the seasonings out of the meat that we eat, all the fat and everything that we cook the meat with, it actually doesn't taste so great. So with, and then it's like, okay, well, yeah, now that I look back on it, I wasn't the meat per se. It was the way that it was seasoned and prepared. But, it wasn't until 2014, actually, I had actually kind of moved away from my vegetarianism, like mostly vegetarianism, big, huge consumer of dairy. Meat wasn't such a big thing for me, but I, envisioned traveling the world by cheese. If I could just go into every different country and try their cheese, that was like, the highlight of whatever I could imagine wonderfulness to be. That was it. And yogurt. And I remember being in Rome, and we went to this little place that was not too far from the Trevi Fountain. And it was a place that had gelato, of course, which was totally amazing. Loved gelato. But it was not only a gelato bar, but like the other half of it, the other arm, was a fresh yogurt bar. And that was like yogurt like I'd never had before. It was incredible. And then you could put all these toppings on it, and I loved the tartness and the creaminess of it. It was incredible. So dairy was my big thing. And I had started noticing as I got a little bit older, into my 40s, I'd always had a little issue with dairy because I grew up with allergies. Mm-hmm. But as I got into my 40s, I started noticing some intestinal issues, whenever I ate dairy, and I would break out. It seems like almost immediately. Wow. After I had some kind of dairy, within like 30 minutes or something, I'd start and get these little bumps on my face, and I would have breakout. So in 2014, of course, we're working on film type projects and commercials and things of that nature. And we were introduced to a physician who was doing some community education, monthly. And they had talked about how they wanted to expand their reach and take these seminars more broadly. And the way to do that was that they would record them, we would produce them, and that type of thing. So we sat down with them to find out, this was our first meeting, sat down to find out what they wanted to accomplish and what the content was, and, what were the biggest points of what they were trying to teach. What did they want the viewer to walk away with? as we do with all of our clients. And so we were sitting having these conversations, and of course they start talking about what a whole food plant-based diet is, what it can do, all the claims, and like the problem of how we've gotten into the health crisis at which we've arrived, and all of this kind of thing. And Paul is a bit of a skeptic, and he was born and raised meat and three, and lots of sweets. And so we're taking all this in, and the doctor says, have you seen Forks Over Knives? Well, we had not. So he gave that to us as the prescription for us that day. He said, I want you to go watch Forks Over Knives and call me in the morning, type of thing. So we did that day. We went back to the office and we watched Forks Over Knives. And at the end of it, Paul, who had not too far in the recent past, had issues where his father had a heart attack, bypass surgery, and stroke all within a week. And his mother's side of the family too, a lot of cancer and other conditions. And so Paul wasn't feeling that great. He was in his 40s, and he kind of felt like he was going down a pathway that wasn't the greatest, but didn't really give it a whole lot of thought. Mm-hmm. But when we were presented with this information, it's like, I wonder if there's really anything to this. Could it possibly be that this could work? So at the end of the movie, he said to me, he says, I don't know about all this, but I'm curious and I'm intrigued, and I think I'd like to try it, but I don't cook. Well, I come from a background of loving to cook and bake and all that kind of thing. I'd started a catering business. So I was doing that commercially and everything. So I love all of that. And he said, I'd like to try this, but I don't cook. Would you mind to help me? And I said, well, I could probably stand to be healthier. And so I'm happy to take this, do this test, kind of be the lab rat, if you will, and see if this really works. And so we actually brought it to the rest of the team the next day and said, this is what Paul wants to do. It was going to change the way we kind of did things in production and did things around the office. And so when we presented that to the rest of the team said, well, why don't we all just do it together? Wow. So we did. So all of us did this together and made this change together. Wasn't something I was anticipating, but literally in one day, we went from eating the way we had always eaten to the very next day, totally transformed the diet, no more oil, no more added sugars, no more refined flours, whole food, plant-based, all the way.
And how quickly did you see the benefits? How quickly did you feel and Paul feel the benefits of this transformation?
Most certainly within the first 2 weeks, like that first week, there's definitely some transformational things happening, but they don't necessarily feel great. You're going, your body is like, what are you doing to me? It's kind of a shock.
It's like a little baby throwing a tantrum,
Exactly. Yeah. But within the first 2 weeks, we saw some amazing results from that. Skin was clearer. We were sleeping better. We seemed to have more energy. And Paul physically noticed no more acid reflux. He was having tendinitis in both elbows and things, which is terrible for someone who operates camera, and some shoulder rotator cuff issues is what he thought it was. Mm-hmm. All of that was gone in 2 weeks.
It's amazing.
And it was really crazy. And then we would meet with people, we had business meetings and things, and we would meet with people, and we met with our attorney who hadn't seen us in a couple of weeks, and he saw us and he went, wow, you guys look great. And he had no idea what we were doing, and we were just kind of look at it and I'm like, well, that's really, you look great too. It's like, he goes, no, you guys really, we're looking at each other going, what's he talking about? And we didn't recognize within ourselves, because we'd been all together, how dramatic the change was. Actually, the sparkle in the eyes and the skin was glowing, and all these kinds of things were happening, and we weren't really even aware of it. And within 6 weeks, Paul had lost 45 pounds.
Wow.
Dropped 45 pounds and looked like a totally different person. All of the puffiness and the redness, the inflammation that was obvious, like in the skin and in the face and everything, totally gone. And just a glowing, vibrant picture of health, and every single one of us experienced some of those same types of transformations, even though we were all of different ages. I think the youngest of us at the time was like 23 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He lost a significant amount of weight. And in that first year, he went back to his high school weight. He lost 80 pounds.
Wow.
To his high school weight. And someone who was working with us, who was the oldest person on the team, she lost about 80 pounds as well and went back to her high school weight in that first year. And these are the things that are happening to people that are over the age of 45, which everybody says, well, you get a little older and your metabolism slows, and then there's some things that certainly change as our body just ages, but you can certainly slow down that progression. And there's some things that are not associated with that at all, but you just don't know because you've never tried anything different to test it.
Absolutely. But it's amazing how before you start working on Eating You Alive, you're going through your own transformation, and you guys made that documentary it was personal. It was almost personal. So now we transition to disease reversal hope. And all these years have gone by. You're still eating whole food plant-based, I'm assuming.
Yes.
And so is Paul. Paul Kennemere is the director, producer of the documentary Disease Reversal Hope. And Merrilee is the producer, but then also Dan Purges, who is the mastermind. He's the one that really wanted this, and he kind of narrates the whole thing. And Scott, it's a great documentary. But what I loved about this one mostly is that you had a lot of doctors telling their transformation stories, because a lot of I always say that if you go to a doctor that doesn't look healthy, or that is morbidly obese, or that is, they smoke, go somewhere else. It's no different than,
you should
fire
find
your
another doctor. Yeah.
If they can't take care of themselves, how are they going to take care of you? Take that hope away from them and put it within yourself. And that's what these stories were about. This is some of these stories were, to me, are doctors coming out of their trance. I call it a white coat trance. They were coming out of their own white coat trance. So share some of the reasons why this documentary happened, because you guys were very successful with Eating You Alive. Why do it again? Why do something?
Sure.
Yeah.
Great question. With Eating You Alive, we interviewed 104 people for that documentary. And actually the majority of them were physicians, but we didn't delve necessarily incredibly deeply into each of these stories, because really the purpose of that documentary was, at the time, I think up until that time, Forks Over Knives was, and probably continues to be, the groundbreaker, the largest film in that space.
Changed my life. It changed my life.
Absolutely. And it's definitely what inspired us to go down that path as well. With Eating You Alive, it was very personal because it was our story. Our team had just gone through this. So it was our story, but we didn't want to turn the cameras on us. We're more really behind the scenes kind of people, behind the camera kind of people. So we told our story through all of the experience of others. And the reason why we included so many people in that first one was because we wanted to give the viewer the more accurate perspective that this wasn't just a handful of weirdos out in California or New York or something, that this diet was some sort of elitist plan of eating or anything like that, that this was available and accessible to everyone. once you understand the premise of it. And so we wanted to give them that there's this broad range of people who actually do promote this, treat people this way. And there's lots and lots of stories out there of reversal of chronic disease. And we wanted to give some people some practical tips too, because at that time, I know what we were facing in the transition, the challenges we were facing. And so we knew that people would say, oh, this sounds great, but how do I do this? And so Eating You Alive was a tad long, yes, but we really felt it was important to include kind of these tips to get started.
It was great.
And give people that basic education so that by the end of it, they were like, okay, I think I know enough. I can get started and I know where to go for resources. And here's some recipes that look familiar to me that can be tweaked. And I think I can do this. So that was the goal of that film. With Disease Reversal Hope, obviously, this was based on the book that was co-authored by Dr. Scott Stoll and Dan Purgis of the Purgis Foundation. And Dan's own story led him to be really passionate about this message. His brush with heart disease and dealing with all of those kinds led him down a path of wanting to look for, a different approach than what's traditionally been offered. And so he's very passionate about this message, and his foundation supports projects and wants to provide resources for projects to get this message out there. He's been involved, the Purgis Foundation has been involved in several studies, clinical trials and things, testing the whole food plant-based approach to chronic disease reversal. So very, very passionate. And he recognized, as we all do, that it's the personal stories that connect with people. You can read a study all day long and you can have somebody lecture to you, but none of those things are really all that effective. They may create some intrigue, but the person and the change, which comes from the heart, it's an emotional connection that kind of stirs that imagination to make you go, okay, I actually think I want to take action. That comes from stories, from people that you connect with, from people who have had the same situation, the same disease, the same hopelessness. And so he recognized that and said, I really want to do a project. I'd love to see a documentary based on the book, really delving into some of these stories that will inspire people to take this path. So thus the documentary being named after the book and including some of the stories that were in the book, presented in the book.
Yeah, I'm sure it was difficult to pick the stories that were going to go into the documentary because all of them were very compelling. Do you have any favorite stories that you would like to share? Because I know that as I was watching it, it's funny because I had reached out to Monica Agarwal many years ago. I had heard about her. I was a marketing rep, a medical marketing rep, and she was one of the doctors that was in I think she was a cardiologist. I'm trying to remember.
Yes.
A cardiologist. And I remember going into her office but at the time, it was such a long time ago, but to see her tell her story.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like, wow, this is right in our backyard almost. I would love to get her in here. So share a little bit about your favorite stories and why that story was so important to you.
Well, that is so incredibly hard to do because, when we go into film, people are allowing us into their lives, allowing us to ask probing questions, questions about their hopes, their fears, what scared them at a time in their lives where they were probably incredibly vulnerable, and so we hope, it's always our goal that when we go in, that by the end of our time together, that we feel like family, So from that perspective, say I have a favorite story, it's so difficult because it's like, they're all family members, and each experience and each story and each interaction that we've had with them has really wonderful memories and very endearing moments and
Yes.
things about that unique person that are really, really special to us.
So maybe I can rephrase the question. Which ones were the most impactful that you felt, wow,
Yeah.
most people, because every single story, if you follow this story without hope, and if you follow these stories without the intervention that they discovered some new truths,
Yeah.
they would all be dead by now, or they would
Exactly.
all be bedridden by now.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
with that in mind,
Yeah.
all of them found hope.
Sure.
Which one was the one that you said, wow, this will be the most impacting, or
Yeah. Yeah. I think from a filmmaker's perspective, from a storyteller's perspective, there are certain elements or things that we see, like you said, that we think will be really impactful to people. Dr. Conway, Jimmy Conway, and his wife Andrea. Jimmy's just a fun person, a great guy, and Andrea is such a delight, and she's a fabulous cook, by the way. If you ever could get her to publish a cookbook, her stuff is amazing. And we actually, some people can probably try one of her little recipes, because we produced some of those assets that are out on Facebook, the Disease Reversal Hope Facebook page and that type of thing. And so Jimmy's frittatas is actually a recipe that's from Andrea that she put together. And we demonstrate that in a little collective of recipe demos called Clean Eats. So you can look for those assets there. And there's also a little bit of a quick cut, kind of a shorter condensed version of their story. But I think Jimmy is impactful because he's in the industry. He's an orthopedic surgeon. He's retired now, but he was an orthopedic surgeon, worked on a lot of young people, from the sports teams, from the university and such. He actually was very proficient. They flew him all over the place, teaching, doctors new techniques and things in that field. And felt like his was really impactful because he coined a phrase, I will quote him, but he called it intellectual arrogance.
Yes.
That is pervasive in the medical industry. And to hear a physician say that about his own industry was really refreshing, because so often, and it's like doctors are necessary. A good doctor there's nothing better than a good doctor. You need those people in there. But I think you made this point a little bit earlier. You said rather than putting your hope in them or handing them your hope, take some responsibility or action and kind of investigate these things for yourself. And I think that's what was impactful about Jimmy's story, is because he acknowledged that this exists, that physicians oftentimes do not want to be questioned because they're the ones that went to get all of this education. And while a lot of the education that they've received is very useful and critical to what they do, there is a serious gap in their education, and it's totally left out what is so foundational to our thriving in our very existence. At a cellular level, you need to understand what the body needs for fuel to be optimized, and they don't get any of that. And certainly not from the perspective of disease reversal, disease processes and how you can reverse those chronic disease processes. So I think that's one reason why Jimmy's story was so impactful. Monica Agarwal's story was, to be honest, that was really impactful to me from the perspective of, I was sitting there, asking her the questions and things. And as she's telling her story, about her youngest daughter, and her youngest daughter feeling like she had caused her mom,
oh my gosh,
that was pain and this disease process. I was sitting there, and Paul can tell you, the team, they don't laugh at me. I think they think it's probably an endearing quality of mine or whatever, but they know I'm very emotional, and I invest myself so much in that person's story at the time, because I want to to give them the safety and the engagement that they know that I am right there with them, in the story. And I was bawling, tears running down my face as I'm listening to her tell, because I'm feeling the angst and the sadness in this little girl thinking that she's done something to hurt her mommy, and then Monica just comforting her and saying, no, sweetheart, it was because of you that I was saved, that I found out this information, that I was driven to this. And to me, that is such an incredibly impactful story because of those emotions, and because it exhibits the very fact that you were not an island unto yourself. Whatever it is you are going through, you are not the only one going through it.
Correct.
Your
That's
family members are there, your spouse, your children, your mother, your father, your coworkers that you may have developed a relationship with. And so from that perspective, I think that very effectively left the viewer with that message that this isn't just about you. You have people around you who love and care for you, that this is impacting as well. So that was another, story I thought that was very impactful. And then, of course, Mark and Kim Ramirez.
Yeah, they're your repeat. There's such a great, they've been in the classroom in the past, and chickpea and beans. Is that
yes,
it? Is that
chickpea and bean. Yes,
chickpea and beans. And his story is always so good. Another thing that I loved about it was the variety of stories that were being told. It wasn't just everybody was overweight or everybody was. You looked at addiction. You looked at lupus, heart disease, diabetes, multiple sclerosis, rheumatoid arthritis. What else? Weight loss, all these different conditions, irritable bowel syndrome, to name a few, just to name a few.
Just to name a few.
Yeah. And the funny thing about it is that they all have been able to be reversed by the hope that there's hope.
Yeah.
And being able to start the process by just changing their lifestyle.
Yes. I think, one of the things, Adam Sudd's story is so incredible to me, just for so many reasons. But, one of the most current relevant reasons is that we have such an addiction problem in our society right now. On so many levels, in so many aspects of addiction. So it's not just drug addiction. Obviously, we have food addiction, and therefore the obesity.
Food addiction is celebrated.
Exactly.
Food addiction is celebrated. I remember there's a line in Eating You Alive that has always stayed with me. I can't remember who said it, but it was, here we are at a funeral eating the same foods that killed the person that we are honoring today. I don't know who it was that said it, but it's true. We celebrate and we eat the worst foods. Yeah. And if you choose not to, then you're the outcast. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, exactly. Hopefully that's changing a little bit as the whole food plant-based information is becoming more accessible and more prevalent, and more accepted, honestly, because now there's studies out showing the various reversals of, type 2 diabetes and heart disease, and, the work of some of our most celebrated physicians like Dr. Warnish and Dr. Elselston and, all these physicians, and the new ones that are coming out now too. So that's great. But the drug addiction portion of it, I thought was so interesting because there is such a connection between the food we eat and the chemicals in our brain and how it affects anxiety and depression and really all the things that sort of take people down this drug addiction thing to begin with. Mm-hmm. They take drugs or they get addicted to drugs because they're trying to absolve some sort of pain. Or if it's depression or anxiety, you want relief or freedom from that. So then you go down the lane of drugs to try and affect some sort of change or an alleviation of that pain. And so for Adam Sudd, his story, I think, is so incredible. Incredible from the family support perspective too.
Oh my gosh.
Being there right with him. And as a parent of 3 kids, I that's so connected with me. and my love for my children and my concerns about them. But when he talked about starting down that road of rehab, really how important the food became in that process to provide even the brain what it needed to rebalance all the chemicals in there, and provide you the energy that you needed, helped you to sleep better, because sleep is so critical to the healing process, both mentally and physically. And so to me, I thought that story was incredible from that perspective. And then of course Marcy Madrid with the whole multiple sclerosis thing. That's a diagnosis that I think people get and they truly are hopeless. That's a non-starter. Where are you going to go from there? It's just going to get worse over time. And so I think hopefully that story, as well as so many of the others like infertility and that type of thing, those kind of stories hopefully open the door to people to go, oh, what if that is possible? I've been trying all of these other things and it hasn't worked, but I've not tried this one, and so it opens the door to that, hopefully, to say, maybe there is hope in this possibility. Maybe there's potential in this approach.
Well, I absolutely love the documentary. I want to encourage all of you to watch it. You can go to Amazon. You can look for the name. You can get it online, or you can purchase it. You can purchase the DVD, right, Merrilee?
Yes, there are DVDs, Blu-rays, and digital downloads. You just, I think the best thing is to go to diseasereversalhope.org, and you can look on the website there, but you can also do a Google search, do an internet search for Disease Reversal Hope, film or documentary, and you should be able to find all the many platforms and things that it's available on.
Yeah, and if you like to read, it originally was a book.
Yes.
And so you can get the book as well. We're going to have Dr. Scott in the classroom. I don't remember when they're coming, but we're looking forward to having him in the classroom to talk about it. Yeah. So he's the co-author of the book. And so I want to encourage you, because this is where we take 100% responsibility.
Absolutely.
And as you know, my registered service mark is you can take a pill or you can take responsibility. So I want to ask all of you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com. Please subscribe to the channel, to the website, and share it with all your friends. As you know, the algorithms, we're beyond the algorithms. We need to unite. We're the 99%. We need to unite and share, tag, and like, and put little hearts and do whatever you can, because that will confuse the algorithms, because we are much greater than the algorithms. So please help out by going to all my social media, like me, follow me, share it with all your friends. While you're there, check out my sponsors, because without my sponsors, this would be very difficult to do. So please support them the way that they are supporting the classroom. Also, you can support us by going to the Shop Now bag. And as you know, we have the DVDs of the New Truth series, Book of Revelation, and 100 Lessons from the Exodus. But next week, we're going to be picking one person with the Isla Hall. Isla Hall was a person who was giving donations for anybody who couldn't afford a DVD, and she's no longer with us on this earth. And so we're doing a giveaway in her honor, and next Wednesday is the last day that you can get your name in, put your name in the winner's basket for the New Truth series, 100 Lessons from the Exodus, in honor of Isla Hall. You can also go to check out any of the products. Some of those products are affiliates, and they're all Lilly approved. These are things that I use, whether it's makeup for our skin, that have zero chemicals, all organic, and it's affordable. You can go there for anything that you need. Just know that everything that's on there is Lilly approved. And last but not least, you can become an enrolled student in the classroom, and you can donate $1 or $1,000 a month, or a one-time donation, or whatever you can. Is greatly appreciated, whether it's your time, your talent, and your treasure. And so today we have Merrilee Jacobs. I'm so excited that they've done it again. The new documentary is called Disease Reversal Hope. And it is absolutely beautiful. Everybody who watches this, that feels that they're on the fence, or that they're doing this 100%, or maybe they're thinking about maybe sometime in the future, or maybe you know somebody who's doing it and you've given them a hard time about doing it because they're no longer eating Yo-Hos with you or drinking that whatever it is that you want to drink with them, sodas or whatever. So I would say this is the documentary everybody should watch. This is an educational documentary as well as an emotional observation of people's lives. You can go through whatever they're going through, but I don't know about you, I like to learn from other people. And so we're all students, we're all teachers. So check out the documentary. I'm very proud of your work.
Thank you.
I'm so excited about what is happening in the world. People, I will tell you this, and this is something that I'm not going to tell you who it is, but there's someone in my life that I know that has come to me because their son has 40 years old, has crippling rheumatoid arthritis.
Oh, wow.
But refuses to change their lifestyle, refuses to eat greens, but he will take the pills. And so what I said, because they wanted me to coach them, to motivate them or whatever. And I said, that person can call me. They can call me. And I've never gotten the call, but I did talk to his mother. And I said, I'm not going to put any time in when they're not open to learn these new truths. And so have you discovered in your journey that people are opening up more, or do you still get that, oh, that's good for you, but I can't live without my steak. I can't live without my piece of pie or my sugar. Do you get that?
Absolutely. Because as we talked about, food addictions, those are all things, the salt, sugar, fat are the addictive factors, the addicting factors. And I think what's so difficult about food and making changes in the way you eat is because there's such an emotional and cultural and traditional connection to that. It's really not logical. And I think that what's been so fascinating about the whole COVID mess, the whole the COVID virus, is that it caused so many people to lose their sense of taste or smell. And so since they've lost their sense of taste or smell, what they find is they really can't taste anything. So then why are you eating it? And it comes back to, it's because that's something that they always ate. Even though they can't taste it, it doesn't really matter anymore. They can't, but it's something they've always eaten, or it's a texture issue, And so it's really interesting to find, because I've seen some people that go, you know what, I never really liked this particular food because of the way it tasted, but I can't taste anything now, and I know it's good for me, so I'm going to just start eating it. It's kind of funny, but I think because what you eat is so innately intimate, and it sometimes people use food to kind of identify who they are. Oh, I'm the steak guy, or I'm the grill master, or whatever it is, or I'm the gooey dessert woman, type of thing. And we're identified by that, plus family traditions and our culture, and these are the things that we eat because it was a family tradition, or because it's part of my culture, even though it's not healthy. And so I think because of those factors, there's such a pride, involved in that to give that up, I think sometimes threatens people's very identity in that way, or threatens their means of self-medicating. Honestly, there's a fear factor involved there, that if you give that up, then what will you have?
That's right.
And so believing that somehow if you give this up, that you're not going to enjoy the food that you replace it with, it's just I think it's all embodied in this fear that you're really giving up something, instead of looking forward to the opportunity of getting something so much better than what you had. And so, yeah, we still do see that very much. But that being said, I think COVID also brought a recognition of the absolute critical nature of immunity and how do you build yourself? When you have people with the comorbidities of diabetes or obesity or heart disease that were more vulnerable to the effects of the virus, then that starts people to thinking, okay, well, if I'm more vulnerable because of these things, then how do I get rid of these things so I can build my immunity, so I can be stronger and fight against such viruses and bacterias and that type of thing? So from that perspective, I think it did kind of open a gate to people's minds going, okay, how can I better strengthen myself, strengthen my immunity so that I am not so vulnerable to some of these kinds of things. So I think because of that, people are even more open, as well as the fact that the food industry, for good or bad, and in a lot of ways is bad, but the food industry latched onto this whole plant-based thing. So now you were seeing, the buzzwords plant-based plastered on tons of stuff. Some of it is healthy and it's just calling attention to that, but a lot of it is not. And so that's also created a lot of confusion. But I think the buzzwords have made it more prevalent, and so therefore more perceived as more widely accepted. It's not something so weird anymore. Plant-based, what's that? You're not getting that so much anymore.
Well, veganism has done that. They have ruined, like it used to be, if you said you were vegan, you were whole food plant-based, and
Yes.
you didn't need any, products from a package or anything like that. But that changed when they did the same thing for the standard American food. They've done it for veganism. Now they're working their way into the whole food plant-based industry. But hopefully the people that have switched to whole food plant-based are smarter and wiser, and know that these are the tricks of the trade. These are the tricks. And so the one thing there are a couple of things that I wanted to go back and say. You did say the identity. Their identity is their title. I'm the gooey person, I'm the the grill master, I'm the but you can also become attached to your dis-ease.
Yes, absolutely.
That becomes your identity. And like you said, without your disease, who would you be? And that is more scary than being healthy. And that's where these addictions take place and take root, where our mindset is so important. Why I did the class yesterday. So please go check out the class yesterday, where I talked about the power within us. We are so powerful, and we don't even know how to begin to tap into it. Another thing that you talk about is the preconceived notion that if you all of a sudden change your diet, that it's going to taste horrible. But the same comfort foods that we love, we can just tweak a bit, just to tweak them, because I'm sure that's how you started.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just take this and go, oh, well, I can't put these eggs in there, and I can't put this, but I can put flaxseed in there, and I can put this, and all of a sudden you've created something just as good, but healthier. So how do you challenge somebody to accept the fact that they don't have to give up anything? They can they're not giving up more than they're adding to their life.
Personally, what we found to be most effective, and I don't know how practical this is, because I can't obviously do this on a broader scale, but as an example, when our team first made this transition, every project that we did, every client that we worked with, every film shoot that we were on, we were now having to prepare our own food for craft services so that we would have something to eat, because we could no longer just, order pizza from the local pizza place or bring in whatever, cater from a restaurant, because they didn't prepare things in the way that was going to be most beneficial to us. So we started preparing our own food. But knowing that we were working with the client and working with their team and working with all these other people, we always just made twice as much. And then we invited them to try it and taste it. And, that was the most effective way of getting people over that fear and reassuring them that the food could taste great. And I remember a couple of our clients, they said, they're guys, and they're like, man, if I had somebody to cook like this for me, I would eat this way, no problem, all the time, And so I think that kind of gets you over that fear factor And then once you're over that, I think the challenge becomes, for those people who don't know how to cook, then that's the next fear. Okay, well, am I going to be able to replicate that because I don't know how to cook? And, how am I going to be able
But
to
that's all nonsense. I mean, we all know how to follow instructions. You can just, if you can put together a futon or a toy during Christmas time, you can certainly figure out how to follow instructions and do a recipe.
You say that in an all jest, you say that, but I have seen in my own living room a whole thing that needed to be assembled or put together, and somehow it gets put together and there's like screws missing or something's not quite lining up or whatever. So you say that, but there sometimes is a little bit of gift or personality involved in the kinds of people that are better adept at some things than others.
You're absolutely right.
But I think to your point, you're right. And this is what we found too, is that if you go looking for recipes, I think there was several different places where you can look up simple recipes for whole food, plant-based, simple recipes that have very few ingredients.
5 ingredients. You
Exactly.
can find 5 ingredient recipes, no problem whatsoever. And that's how you start. Or you start with your own ingredients and say, okay, well, I know that this is from a box. This is from this. And how can I substitute it? And make it a science project. Make it a family project. Make it something fun.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be dreadful. I need to remember to remind all of you that the body code is going to be on November 5th and 6th. So please click the link below to get your tickets and learn more about it. It's being able to tap into your subconscious mind where everything, all the information of your body is there, knows everything. So how do you tap into it? Go to the Body Code workshop in Cape Canaveral, Florida. So excited about that. And the other thing I want to let you know is to invite you. Here we are talking about health and wellness and dis-ease and hope. I have learned so much about mold, metals, microbes, and we're in the middle of a detox. It's called the M-Cube Detox Experience. The link is below the description as well. For those of you who have been told that you have one of these chronic diseases that could never be reversed, think again. You might also have mold. And once you get rid of the mold, you get rid of the dis-ease. And it is amazing. So please consider joining us. We started on September 27th, but we're recording everything. You are able to join us at any time, even after we're done, because it's called the M-Cube Detox Experience. Every single one of us is having a different experience. So please consider joining us. That's virtual. You can join us from all over the world. So I just wanted to mention that because I'm like, oh, we're right around the corner and we want to do this. Okay, so any other practical lessons or tips that you can share?
Yes, one of the things I think that we found as a challenge as a team is maintaining. Everybody gets excited January 1 to hit the gym, right? New Year's resolution, new year, new me. I'm going to get to the gym and and then somewhere around, maybe you make it through February.
Yeah, that's what I say. You've been on my treadmill, but I'll wait till February.
Maybe you make it to February, but after that, that drive, that determination, the willpower, whatever it wanes, and the same thing I think occurs just in every aspect of our life. Everything good that we know we should do, we may make a commitment and when we start that, but somewhere along the line, you're going to lose your first love, and it's going to wane. So what is the secret to staying that direction? I don't know that I found what that secret is. Unfortunately, I wish I could share that. I'd probably a billionaire if I had that secret. But what I found is that it's very challenging, and especially in today's world when you do have, and I'll say all the whole plant-based things, and you may stay away from the eggs and the dairy or whatever, but the sugar is there, the added oils are there. And there's so much out there that can appeal to your old addictions, to your old desires, that it's easy to get lazy. It's easy to succumb. And all I would say is when you find yourself doing that, go watch a movie again. Go watch Eating You Alive. Go watch Disease Reversal Hope. Go read something that's inspiring to you. That listen to a story that inspired you the first time, to get back on track. Because the sad thing is, if you don't maintain that, then you will start to acquire all of those things that you were able to reverse previously. And you don't want to see yourself go down that path. Not just you, but then everybody around you. You are bearing witness to this transformation, to the power of this to transform your life. People are watching you, whether you know it or not. People are observing you. So I feel like you have a responsibility to continue to do the best thing, because you never know when your stumbling is going to cause somebody else to fall. And so I would just, hopefully inspire or encourage everybody to just remember, you're not an island to yourself. Everything you do affects somebody else. And for that reason alone, if you love the people around you, you want to be the best example you can possibly be to encourage them.
Absolutely. Great words of wisdom by Merrilee Jacobs, producer of Disease Reversal Hope documentary. And we are going to learn more about this documentary, because I'd like to invite so many people. Eating You Alive is something else that you can watch, is to empower yourself to be the better you that you can be. And please remember, thank you so much, Merrilee, for being on.
Oh, thank you.
And please remember, we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott and Merrilee Jacobs, wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good job. Best ever. Good job.
The opinions and advice expressed on the Lillian McDermott radio show are intended for the individual callers and guests on the program and are presented to our wider audience solely for general educational purposes. Please act responsibly and consult personally with your own medical, psychological, or nutritional expert before taking any steps to improve your life.
Such great information, Merrilee. I love the documentary. I want to encourage all of you to watch not only this latest one. Maybe you could start with the first one, change the first, or go back to the second one. I doesn't matter how you do it, just do it. Educate yourself. And I think that's probably the most important aspect that I'm experiencing now with the MQ Detox experience, where every time we gather together every Tuesday night and learn from a different expert, I'm going, wow, I didn't know this. It's like now I know why I want to do this. And so when you're educating the people you're telling the story, you're seeing what's happening to them, it's brilliant. So keep doing what you guys are doing, because it's so needed. Very needed.
Well, thank you. Well, we love telling stories, so we're glad that we can tell the stories that hopefully inspire and impact people for the better.
Well, you're doing a great job. Give my love to Paul and the
I
team over there. Thank you. And thanks everybody for watching today. We will see you tomorrow. Dr. Jennifer Grameth will be with us, and we're going to be talking about our libido. So tune in, the birds and the bees. So we'll talk to you guys